Hi everyone, I am here with Ed Chan. Glad to see him again. He just got back from his 2 month amazing vacation that he gets to do because he owns his firm, but he basically got to bike around fantastic landscapes in Europe for 2 months with his wife, with his family, got to see friends. So he's coming back refreshed to talk to us about some of the burning topics that our members have been asking about. So, yeah, very excited to dig in with you, Ed. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for
Hap-
having me, Claudia. Yeah.
yes, happy to hear that. Thank you. So yeah, some of the questions that we've gathered, as always, come from careers that we have and ideas that our mentors and members have about certain topics. So I'm going to ask a few and see how you would tackle them.
Okay.
So one of the first things that we are seeing in the current landscape and everything is that you've been having your clients work with your senior client manager, and everything is going so well that you get to take 2 months off to Europe to bike around Europe. That happens, and that's the best case scenario for you. But what do you do when this thing comes back and it fires back at you because your senior client manager, there could come a time when they're working with you and they might say like, hey, well, why do you, as the owner of the business, no longer do chargeable work? And what's your role? Like, where do you fit in here if I am doing the senior-est activities here?
Hmm.
It's a hard
Yeah,
question and
that's
situation. I would
yeah.
love to know how you have handled that because I'm sure with 50 plus staff at Chan and Naylor, you've encountered this at some point.
Yeah, surprisingly, I haven't, and the
Oh,
reason for that is that that's never been a problem. It's only because that we run a deep and narrow team structure, okay, and most firms run a flat structure. So what I mean by that is that they have an accountant do everything from interviewing the client to doing the work, and then often the work's given back to the partner, and the partner goes and sees the client. But we don't, and if you run it like that, then of course, if the partner is no longer doing any work, then you're going to get this question. But because we run it like a corporation, where there's different positions in the team, so we run teams, and each person in the team has a different position on that team. So it's a bit like a sporting team. So if you and I'll take a soccer team because I'm familiar with soccer in
mhm.
Australia. But in a soccer team, you've got different positions. You've got the fullback, you've got a goalie, you've got a winger, and forwards and centers, and they all have a different role, and they all play in that role. And they don't question the coach. The coach doesn't jump on the field to play the game with them. So they understand that the coach is not a player. He has to um, work the whole team from outside in, and he's not part of the team. Or it's like an orchestra where you've got everybody playing a different instrument, and you've got the conductor out the front. The conductor doesn't jump in there and play an
Yeah.
instrument with the orchestra, nor does the coach jump in there and play a position. Because if he does jump in there and play the position, then he's not coaching, and you can't.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to coach and to play. As it is, you can't be a director. You can't direct an orchestra and play an instrument at the same time. And often that's what accounting firms do. They mix it all up, and they do a bit of this and a bit of that, and it's all over the place. But we don't do. We have positions, if you like. And so we've got a senior client manager whose job is to just talk to clients, and they have to have a really good command of communication, and they've got to be a little bit more like a people person. They have to like to pick the phone up and talk. Whereas, if you like to do the work, you tend to send an email, and often sending emails is not the best way to handle certain situations, especially if there's a complaint or if there's a problem. It's much, much better to pick the phone up. But if you're someone that just does the work and you're not a people person, you tend to send an email instead of picking the phone up and talking to the client. So to hold a senior client manager role, you have to be very experienced. So you have to be able to communicate to the client and explain things to the client in language that they understand, not language that you understand. So you have to be able to be able to be able to communicate at the client's level.
Yeah,
Because anybody can communicate at our level. We can talk accounting terms all day long, but the clients don't understand you. And then we have an assistant client manager who then takes care of all the C and D class clients at a lower level, but they're getting trained up by the senior client manager on their interpersonal skills and the way they communicate and explain things to the client. And then we have a senior production manager who's very, very senior, but they're not a people person. They're not good at communication. They don't have to talk to clients. Sure, they can send an email to the client saying, there's a missing bank statement. Can you send that to me? So that level of communication is fine. And then, but their job is to manage the team. They have to train the team. They have to check the work. They've got to, communicate with the senior client manager, tell them what's going on so that when the senior client manager goes and sees the client, they're informed as to where the job is. So this team that we run, we call it a deep and narrow team,
mm,
made up of different personalities and different skill sets and in different positions. So everybody's playing in position. So when you play in position, you're playing from a position of strength. So, I often hear owners say, "Oh, I asked that accountant to ring the client, and he sends an email." And it's frustrating. Well, it's because the person or the other, because he just doesn't like picking the phone up and talking to the client. It's because you put a wrong person in a wrong seat, and then you're fighting that personality, and you can't change a leopard spots. It's very difficult to change leopard spots. You can train them a little bit, and I found that you can train and train and train someone, and you can lift them. You can lift them from here to here to be something that they're not. They can do that for a week, and then they gradually go back to what they're naturally good at. And then
so
you get all
true.
frustrated again. So it's no point in trying to change a leopard spots, I often say. So you find the right person to fit that role. So often accountants will just go and hire, they're really, really busy, and they go, I need a body to do the work, and they go out and they want to hire an accountant. Well, if you did that, you're going to end up having a flat team structure. But what we do is we work out what the blueprint of this ideal team structure is first. So, those positions, and then we go and recruit the right person to fit that position. And it's a much better fit. So the staff stays there a lot longer. They're playing out in position, so they're a lot happier. And if they're a lot happier, they're a lot more productive, and they stay longer. And of course, the domino effect of that is huge. So that's why I don't get that question, Claudia, is because
That's amazing.
when we're recruiting for the right position, and then when we're interviewing, we're looking for the position, we're looking for the person with the personality that fits that position. And then, when they come on board, we explain they're in charge of this team, and this is their role, and they understand I'm the conductor conducting, and not someone that's playing the instrument. And so I never get that question. But of course, most firms run it like a flat, I call it a flat team structure. And then, yes, you will get someone, if you're running it in a flat team structure, you will get someone wondering, what do you do?
Yeah.
um, yes. So that's the reason, I guess. That's why I've never been asked that question. Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much, Ed, for pouring your thoughts into our conversation today. This was amazing. As always, great pleasure having you, sharing your wisdom and answering burning questions from who listens to us. And I would say to everyone to stay tuned. We're going to have even more content, even more wisdom on our episodes. So, yes, thank you so much, Ed.
All right. No, thank you for having me, and look forward to the next one.
Yes, thank you.